Alright, oddly enough, I'm doing this intro as the last component for this whole thing, but it allowed me to kind of round out what was going on and where we need to leave off at. So I'm in the Carrack here, just as an entry point, so we can kind of show some of this, because I didn't have the opportunity to go through all of the ships. I didn't go to great detail either way, but there's a lot of things to consider. We'll talk about some of those components now. So what I'm going to do is I have a valuation sheet piece where we'll talk through a lot of the information, get what you need out of that, and then you can move on. And then from there, we'll go over each of the ships after we go through the valuation piece and discuss some of the different areas and things involved with that. You can then go through each of the ships you want to take a look at. I was originally going to have segments for each, but I didn't end up really evaluating that way, and when I go to do these chapters, I can only really have one chapter type. So I'm going to do the chapters based on the different ships. That way you can just click to the certain ship you want to look at, and you might be kind of evaluating, but I do want to be mindful of, for me personally, I like to look at the ships as up to $45 is like obviously bottom dollar what you can do to get into the game without having to spend too much extra time or money. And well, time wise, you're gonna have to spend more time, right, catching up and doing other missions in order to kind of make that up on capabilities. But at least from the money perspective, it will be the lowest you can get to get into the game. Now, to go along with that, the next component is going to be the $60 kind of price point. I would almost lump those all together, so I do kind of see the first two and up to $60 as the entry point. Beyond that $60, so I'd say 60 to 100 is the intermediate, and that is the amount of money that you can kind of spend in a game where you're basically buying a game and some DLC components going along with it, or unlocking a season pass or something of that nature. So that's what, when you're looking at Star Citizen, anything $60 and above, up to 100, I would expect it to be, something that you're having to invest in, but more or less is something that you are going to be putting a fair amount of money into, that you just need to be mindful of is a little above and beyond for a regular game. Anything above that's over $100 is like really on the high end. So when it comes to doing something like that, I think you're asking quite a bit of the game, or you really want to support it, or like I said, you're asking of a bit much of it. That's about it. We'll get into taking a look at the ships after we're done taking a look at that spreadsheet. Take another go at this. I want to really try to cut this down as quickly as possible. So we're going to go over a number of the highlights I have here, but I do want to note really quick. So I would foresee these are the prices that you're going to pay for the particular ships. I foresee these ones, or the way I interpret these, and I kind of condense these down, is particular categories is here. I do 0 to 60 being kind of the really entry level of the ships. And these in this category, I think, are the most reasonable to consider and purchasing. Obviously, these two here are the absolute entry points where you can spend the lowest amount of money. The Aurora MR at time of recording this video is going to be Invictus week. So as of right now on 5/17, May 17th, going forward for a couple weeks, this is going to be available for $40. Similarly, the Avenger Titan is available for $56.25. So a little bit of a price reduction. You can get in a little under the usual 45, and we'll talk about the game package cost on top of what's already being. So if you look here, this column is going to show the actual value of the ship, or at least what you can return it for or use it as store credit essentially. So you can see here you're having to pay 10 and a half, so $10.50 for the particular game. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight that first up to $60 would be my entry level point. Above that, up to 100, I would see as like the intermediate or intermediary. That is going to be something like buying a game with DLC. So that's going to be something that you would have to consider. Like, do I think when I'm playing Star Citizen, I'm going to be getting what I would consider to be, AAA experience type of gameplay, or am I going to be getting what I'd want to put into the game plus maybe give a little extra? This, I don't know, this could be considered like tipping the developers, if you will. At any rate, they're also fairly unique ships, but the only one in this category you actually can't buy in game, and it's going to be inaccessible unless you purchase it, is going to be this one here. You can see there's no pricing for this one because you currently cannot buy it in game. That's only going to stand for a couple more patches. I imagine this will be for sale in game in short order, probably in the next few patches, maybe by 4.0, if not sooner than that. After that is going to be those that are over $100. Some are completely ridiculous, and some of them are ridiculous on their head, and if you look into a little deeper, are pretty ridiculous. And then there's some that are just over $100. You're really asking quite a bit to go with one of these, and we'll talk about what that pricing might mean as well. Again, starting from the top, the reason this one is blue is because it is the only ship that cannot be purchased in game. So when we're looking through all these, all of them can be purchased currently in game except for this particular one. These down here are part of the Carrack package deal. So all these that are in this light blue are ones that are part of a package. Sorry, Doggo wants to say his piece. Yeah, so next highlight we're going to see here is under the rent section. So these are in gray, are rentable in game. You can see about 50% of these are particular ships that you can rent. What that means is you can pay a small fee, not the full price, but a small fee. And from there, you can go ahead and pay that rental fee. And you could do a chunk of, I think, 1 day, 7 days, at least up to 30 days. I don't know if there's a 2 week in there, but 1 day, I think 7 days. And I'm pretty sure there's a 30-day. I don't know if there's something in between all of those ranges. But that's an interesting way to go about, getting in the game and renting something out. A lot of people like to rent the Cutlass Black. If that's a good way too to check the price of the ship, because essentially you can rent that ship for a day and then see if you can make that money back. If you can't make that money back with the ship that you rented for a day, it's not worth buying. At least in my eyes, that's a metric I would use. In my particular opinion, if I'm renting a ship and I can't make that money back, unless I don't expect to make that money back, but if I'm trying to evaluate the ship, if I want to keep it or not, if I'm renting it for a day and I can't make that money back that I spent in it, I'm probably not going to keep that ship. That's just a way for me to put some kind of weight behind making a decision like that. Again, in this column is the amount of money they're charging you in the store for the particular ship. Unfortunately, because it requires a game package, you will have to purchase a game package to play the game ultimately. Right now, Invictus, you can play for free without having to do that. But at the end of the day, people need a game package in order to play. Unfortunately, there's no bottom dollar. If you spend $100, they're going to give you the free game for free. I don't know why they don't do that. Well, I know why they don't do it, because they are really going about this the wrong way. But they should be doing that. They should have some kind of price point where you spend that money. I think there is one. I think it's $1,000, but that's way too high. At any rate, this is the amount of money you would have to spend in order to get the package. Unfortunately, your ship is going to only be worth this amount of money if you try to trade it in. Returning it's one thing, but if you want to try to trade it towards an upgrade to another ship, we'll have a segment in this video. You can go to the upgrades tab where I'll show you how to do an upgrade. Any of these particular ships, you can use them as a basis for this amount of currency to upgrade to another ship if you'd like to. And then that new ship kind of becomes your starter pack ship, if you will. And this kind of ties along with this. This is the difference between those two columns. So you can see here, this is, say the game is going to cost you $10.50 instead of costing you the full price under this current discount. I have the parentheses here because usually this game package is $45. Similarly, this is, instead of being closer to $5.50, $56.25, it's usually $75. However, when you do the math on all these, that means in this particular case, you're not paying for the game. You're actually getting a bit of a discount on your rate there, because even though it's under $60, so you're actually going to you're able to trade this in at $60. At least you should be able to. I actually cannot verify these two. I was looking in the upgrade. I'll show in the upgrade part how you can evaluate upgrades, but you don't actually need to own the ship to evaluate the upgrade. This one you might need to, but I'm assuming this is still going to be, even though it's a special pack, this is going to be still worth $60. Similarly here, I would expect this one to be similar in the respect that it would be worth $30, just like its Aurora MR is. But these two are special Invictus packs, and they also give you 10-year insurance. It's hard to determine how much insurance is really worth. I kind of make this comment later on as well, but it's hard to evaluate how much insurance is really worth, as far as it's a digital asset anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's hard to value insurance if it's not really being active in the game, and currently it's not active. It's not really everything insurance wise is free. So if you purchase this ship in game currently, if you want to buy the 100i, you pay this price. It's basically unlimited insured currently because the insurance is not yet in the game. That being said, if you think insurance will be important on a later date, which I now have, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal, then you would want potentially these two, because they both offer 10-year insurance. Most of these just offer a flat 6-year. There might be higher insurance here. I'm not going to go. I didn't check into it because I think I don't think people should be buying this one. Unless you really want it, go for it, right? And you want to support the game, feel free. But I'm not going to suggest that people buy this, so I don't know what the insurance is. Looking in the next column here, we have the price of the ship in game. So this is how much AUEC you can spend on it. Some of these seem really high. They are high, but I will note that I've been playing since November. I have made it to the point where I purchased all these ships. That's not simply a one-to-one, unfortunately, because I was able to take advantage of a relatively newer gameplay loop, salvaging, to do that, to help me do that. But honestly, there'll be probably other gameplay loops that'll come along. CIG likes to allow for more money making with newer gameplay loops so that people will be incentivized to play them and test them. So that's kind of how they go about doing this. So if you're interested in making a lot of money, there'll be probably some game, and cargo might be this one, or medical. There's a couple that look like they might be coming up as the new gameplay loop. Right now, money is hard to kind of get, and they recently changed these prices. All these prices you're seeing here are probably at least 100%, so 2 times the price that they were before. So be mindful of that, but making your first million is not impossible. None of these prices are impossible to meet. Again, I have purchased these ships, even though I did salvaging and was able to make good amount of money on it. I purchased all these ships, some of them twice or more over. So it's definitely possible to buy these ships in game. Be mindful of that. Again, that's why a lot of people say buy one of these entry level packs, if not one of these two, because you can work your way up to that. I do have a money making guide on my channel. It's relatively based off a bug, but it's been going on for a couple of patches now, so I call it a feature. It's based off a feature that could go away any day now, and so that particular feature is usable by any ship because you're going to leave your ship behind before you do this bug, and it pays you out 20,000 to 30,000 depending on which mission it is. So it's not no money, but it's not a ton of money. But 20 or 30,000 if you do that mission a couple times. You can't really spam it as much as you used to be able to, but if you do that mission enough times, you're going to be able to work your way towards a bigger and better ship. The money factor here, what this is a comparison here, this valuation that I've got is a comparison on making this price more directly convertible to US dollars. And how I've done that is you can actually buy AUEC with real money that's available in the pledge store. So if you wanted to convert your $20 to 20,000 AUEC, you can do that. And so you can kind of do the conversion. You can't buy one or 1,000 AUC with $1, unfortunately. So I can't. It's not a direct comparison. So, like for example, with this one here, you would have to buy 685. There's no way to actually buy. You could buy 680, and you could buy 685, but you can't buy 680.4 AUEC. At any rate, if you wanted to buy this game price money, you would have to spend $680 to get this amount of money to buy it in game. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that when they value the ship at $30. However, that does give us some insights into how much CIG values this ship and thinks what it's worth. You can see here in just the top four, which are all in the basic $60 kind of entry price range I was referring to before, have some discrepancies with their value in game versus what CIG is selling you them for. And these two stick out in red because you're not getting as much of a deep discount because they're cheaper in game relative to what CIG is charging you. What that means is, in my eyes, if this percentage is not, for me, I want to see like 97, 98, 99. Obviously 100% would be good. But and the higher the price is, the more that ratio is going to be close to the 98, 99, just the way that kind of the nature of the calculation. But with this current calculation, seeing these are 91, 92, just looking at the straight numbers alone, you can see both of these two ships are cheaper than both of these ships up here. That doesn't make sense. It should make sense, but it doesn't. So what this means is these are actually easier to purchase in game. I'm clearly than they are out of the game. So I mean that could mean that you want to just buy one of the entry level packages and make your way to buying these ships. That is a reasonable assumption based off of this calculation here. But it also just means, unfortunately, that they are overcharging for these ships based upon how they sell them in game. Unfortunately, but given that they're in the top four like this, you're kind of having to eat the sandwich here, right? You're having to eat the a lot of people talk about a poop sandwich, but you're basically having to kind of eat the cost here. I wouldn't weigh these too heavily here, but it does show a good indication that these two ships, if you wanted to really get into them, they're probably better to buy in game. But I still am going to recommend that the cutter is probably one of the better purchases. It doesn't do any of these segments, these jobs, better than any other ship listed on here, but it does everything average enough that it makes it a more tolerable and better daily driver. So when I'm doing videos and stuff and I kind of leaning into the entry player, new player, I usually take out a cutter. That's just the way it is. The Aurora and the Alpha and the Mustang Alpha are very similar. Currently, with this discount, this clearly makes the Aurora a better purchase. Similarly, I keep using that word, but I tongue tie it enough that it sounds weird. But in a similar fashion, the Avenger Titan is on a deep discount, relatively deep discount, right? For even though it's a digital asset, this is probably the better recommend temporarily, but I think that a recommend only really stands over the cutter, and paying that extra $15 you would have to pay an extra $15 typically over that. But I think currently you're not having to spend that extra money, and it kind of values your ship. So if you want to potentially upgrade it at a later date, at least you actually got in less than what they're going to give you for it. So if you wanted to upgrade to, let's say you want to get the Nomad later, or you want to get the Cutlass Black, right? So this $60 goes towards this Cutlass Black. So technically, you can buy it for less than $60 now. They'll give you $60 of value, and you have to pay the $50 difference. Something to think about, but at the end of the day, currently the Avenger Titan, due to the discount that's going on with Invictus, is a pretty good buy. Plus, a lot of people like it as a daily driver. I don't really generally get that feeling. I think it kind of rides heavier than it is, but it looks like a big space shuttle. She's a little top heavy, but I don't know. It's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad ship or good or bad one way or the other, but I'm saying it's a decent ship. I think it would be in the top running if you were trying to decide which packages. It is hard to decide if you want this over another. I just like the cutter a bit better, and I'm a little bit biased there. And there's really no statistical money way to indicate that I should have that view over the Avenger Titan. They really are both very similar. Again, usually it's just the Avenger Titan costs more, and I wouldn't want to spend the extra $15. But in this case, since it's cheaper than the cutter, I can see people wanting to pick this up instead. It also gets, again, that 10-year insurance if you value that. Again, I don't put a lot of weight into. I used to think I would put weight into that, and I haven't these days. Going further down here, we see two more ships that have the red. So for these two, this is a good indicator as well that these two ships are less expensive in game. I set the limit at 94% to be highlighted. I almost set it at 95. Most of them are 95% though. So at 94%, both of these two were highlighted, and both of these, I don't know. It seems like the package is probably not worth it for you to spend the real world money towards these when they seem relatively close to being purchasable in game. I don't know. Again, I'm just trying to set some kind of apples to apples way of comparing these two. And I think these prices are low enough that what they're trying to charge you out of the game doesn't make sense. Additionally, I do want to note these valuations are based off of the in game price versus the actual ship price, not the package price. These actually would look even worse if I changed it to the ship price. So if you want to see that, let me know. I can always do a separate video and we could take a look at the package discount or the package price versus the in-game price and not actually at the standard price. So anyways, that really means that this price is too high, let alone this price, which is an extra $15 for the game. Additionally, the Hornet here kind of stands out because it is the same price for the ship sold separately from the actual game package. So technically, you're not paying for the game package. You'll want to verify that when you're making the sale or when you're purchasing a ship. Double check the package price and double check the upgrade section and make sure that they're both 125. But as of late, when I was just checking, it was before Invictus, but as the last time I checked, it was game package is $25, but the ship is also valued at 125. And I think that has to do with the fact that there's currently a game mechanic to allow you to upgrade this ship for free after you work a certain mission set. So that's an interesting dynamic. Although I wouldn't recommend this ship as a purchase. I mean, it's fine. I bought it in game. It's a fine ship, but and farming out 3 million sounds like a lot, but it is doable again. But at the end of the day, a 125 is a pretty steep price for a ship that can really only do one thing, and that one thing is going to be it can do fighting. So if you really want to do bounty hunting and grind that out, even bounty hunting has components where ideally you blow up the other ship and it might have freight on it that you need to store up. Well, you can't do that with this particular ship or the Anvil Arrow. So either one of these two ships, they both have 0 SCM, so you can't. There's nothing to store. It's like trying to do a fighter jet. You kill the other fighter jet and then you decide, oh well, I'm going to take your goods. There's no room to put it. There's just nowhere to put any of that stuff. Whereas if you had a bomber or something, you could fight and blow up the other ship, and then the bomber has a bay, and you just put all that stuff in there. Terrible comparison, but that's kind of what we're looking at here. Some ships have a bay where you can put components into and keep, and when you're doing dogfighting and stuff, you can strip down those components and resell those. So you're really just cutting into less money that you can have. You're just going to get the mission money that you get for completing the mission. You're not going to actually be able to sell anything that you may have, any of your wares that you may have ill-gotten gains. Here, below that, that's pretty much it. We'll take a look at this package really here. So this price includes all of these as well. I wanted to run through these very briefly. We are going to cover the C8 X. It might be a special version. Again, I didn't overly check into it. But it's probably not it's not worth that price. So for me, that's not a selling point. The Terrapin, I love the Terrapin. It's in my fleet as or it's listed as a ship that I would always want to buy in game and be a part of my fleet, as people call it. But it has zero value. Unfortunately, the ship is just terrible. It's just a nice to have. It's like a second kind of cool thing going on. All of these ships kind of have that in mind. So like, you're looking at the Syulen. If for whatever reason, for $85, it has that second kind of cool that you really like, then just get it. Maybe again, we have the upgrade discussion. Maybe you get the Avenger Titan today when it's less than $60, and then at the end of the day, you decide, I don't really like it. I want to get the Syulen instead. Then spend the extra $10 and get the Syulen. But no reason to spend the $85 to get it outright when you can pay less than $60 and then pay the $10 difference just to upgrade. So all that to say, down here, all of these ships that are showing up, there's nothing here that's super valuable that yeah, you might want to get them, but just buy them in game. The Terrapin none of these unlock a gameplay loop that's going to be so good for you that you're going to be able to make more money out of the money you're investing, your real world money investing into the game. Unfortunately, that's just where all these are at. If these were different ships, maybe that story could be different. But with all of these particular ships, there's no super value here to allow you to unlock some kind of gameplay that's going to make you more money. It just is what it is. Even to this point, I would say the Carrack, and we'll discuss this during the Carrack review part, but I'd consider this at one point, but the Carrack is not worth the $600 they're charging you for. It looks cool. It's fun to fly in, but buy it in game for this price. That sounds ridiculous, but it gives you something to work towards, and it's not ridiculous. I mean, I've got a couple of them in the game at this point, so it's not impossible. It's possible to get to it and grind it out, but at the end of the day, even this price is too high for a Carrack that really has almost very few gameplay loops. As it shows here, it's hard to solo pilot it. You can, and you can do some things, but you can't really gun it and fly at the same time. There's no way to, because you have to use turrets. You're depending upon turrets, and it has some freight. You have a fair amount of SCUs. This looks really good compared to the other listing here, but it's not the same kind of true SCUs, and it's not accessible like other platforms have when it comes to their bays and trying to put boxes and stack boxes and manage particular managing missions. So for example, I had that discussion about bounty hunting. Same thing here. At least it has a cargo bay, but you can't actually access that cargo bay to put your gains. You can't put your wares in here. That's about it. These kind of total up these prices here. So technically, if you're buying this package, according to Straight, if you bought each of these ships independently, you're getting it to gain an extra $5. But again, this package is just not worth it in game. This is how much you would have to spend in game to buy all these particular assets. Just to kind of put a price on it. But yeah, all in all, I don't think this package is worth. Oh, I almost forgot. The Andromeda, for whatever reason, the actual value they give you for the ship versus what they charge you, it's $35. They're making the game $35 instead of $15. So obviously not a recommend from that perspective, as well as the Andromeda is cool. I like purchasing it in game. I can't quite see myself purchasing this particular ship. I could see changing my starter ship and changing it to the $200 variant, the Taurus. That one I think is cool enough. It covers all the bases. I'm not saying you do that, but I wouldn't, even if I was considering this particular Constellation Andromeda, because some of these ships, including the Andromeda and the Cutlass Black, a lot of these ships have a bunch of variants associated with them, and some of those variants are cheaper. In this case, the Taurus is cheaper than this variant. It's $200 instead of $240, and in this case, I would like it better, and I think it has better opportunities compared to the. I can't quite get there with the Andromeda. I like having it, and I'll probably keep buying it, but all in all, I would prefer the I like the Taurus a bit over the Andromeda. All right, let's head to the next section. All right, another thing I wanted to note on the site is you can click the ship upgrades, and you don't have to pick from your available ships. You can click on just all ships, and then from there you can kind of take a look and see what a certain ship can upgrade to. So, let's say that you picked up. I'm looking for the first starter pack, honestly, that I get to. I've already skipped a couple. Let's say you picked up the C8X Expedition Pisces, right? So you pick that, then you can take a look and see what available ships you can upgrade to. They'll show like a, in stock. And unfortunately, that's something they do. I mean, all of it's in stock because it's a digital asset. But at any rate, they do that for scarcity. It's just to promote sales. At any rate, and with Invictus, this listing will probably change. They'll probably have more launches. So here you take a look and see what you want to get, and then essentially you just pay the difference. So if I wanted to upgrade to the C8R, which is one of the ships I already have, so I can't do that, but you can just see that it's just going to show you the difference between the two, and the $20 is the difference. So that's essentially how you can go about that. I did want to note one thing though, which is an interesting concept. Let's say you start at, the starter. This is the starter pack price. Well, this ship is 60, but it's worth 45, so it's a little bit different. But at any rate, let's say you pick this ship. Actually, let's go to the cutter. So if I find the cutter, because I think this is a better example, because the cutter actually, since it's a reduced price, you get more value out of it. So the ship price, it's like 45. I went too far. Here it is. This is actually the cutter scout. Yeah, it's cutter. Okay, sorry. So let's say you paid this extra $6. Sorry, I think it's what, $51 right now. And you want to upgrade this, well, then you're getting a little bit of extra to it. I mean, again, I'm really splitting hairs here, but yeah, let's say you do this. So you've got $45 in value. Again, I'm really just, if you just start with the starter ship, but if you wanted to do upgrades, you want to pursue upgrades, and you want to kind of work your way up towards a ship for whatever reason, and let's say every month, let's say you're used to a game like World of Warcraft or something like that. It would be a decent idea to say it's really $15 more or less. Yeah, it depends on how much you pay for on a subscription like that, but it's $13, $14, $15 depending on how much how many months you choose to spend. At any rate, you just come up with an amount that you're willing to spend on a game per month, essentially, and from there you can choose to but put that into an upgrade. So, maybe you want the 300i. That's the $15 difference there, right? So you just want to stay within the $60-ish bracket. Maybe you want to go up to 20. Maybe you're willing to spend $20, so it would be a $65 bracket. So that's where I could get the C8R Pisces. Maybe get the Syulen if that's your top bracket. But at any rate, you just come up with, and for me, sometimes it's taking a look at video games I wanted to play but didn't purchase, and maybe it's taking that money towards it. So it could be crazy. It could be you want to spend $60 a month on a game. Obviously, that's quite a bit. Maybe you see yourself purchasing. I mean, it depends on how much you play a game. And so you could do that, and that would be 105. So it really just depends. Just budget yourself and don't get out of hand with it. I mean, CIG wants you to get out of hand with it, but again, like many people will say, and I have guides on this, just having a starter ship is more than adequate. But if you want to add more money towards the development, or if you want a ship you want to work up towards, then it's perfectly up to you if you want to keep track of upgrading and just upgrade to make your way towards that ship that you want to get. So I like the Taurus, so I can see doing something like this where I continue to upgrade once a month, once every couple months, to work my way towards the Taurus, which is here. So obviously just paying that outright is expensive, but if I worked up towards that over a month at a time, that could be something that's considered more reasonable. So yeah, just a thought on a concept. Obviously, that's something that CIG would want you to do, but it's up to you if you want to do that or not. It's just the thought, but it definitely is not necessary. I definitely wouldn't say it's necessary. All right, it's pretty easy to upgrade. You're just going to pick from your actual ships and then choose the ship that you're looking to upgrade to, and then you just pay the difference. So that's generally how this upgrade goes. Yes, I'm just doing this for this. This ship has gone down in price, so I like it, and I'll still continue to buy it and put it in my fleet, but I'll always be able to make the money to. So far, the way I see it, I'll be able to make the money to buy it in game. So, for me, largely, the ships should be purchasable or not. Maybe not purchasable in the game that's maybe not the best way to put it, but if it's cheap in game based off the analytics, then it's really no reason to keep it necessarily as a starter. I'm going to go ahead and switch starters. So again, I upgraded to this. I already have it in game, and so I don't necessarily see the point of keeping this as my starter. That and the gameplay loop isn't quite there, so I'm going to go ahead and make the upgrade. I'm not saying that you should do this upgrade, but this is the only ship I can't purchase in game to make this video, so I'm largely doing it just for this video. All right. So yeah, anyways, that's how you do an upgrade. All right, we start at the top with the Aurora MR, which is very basic. She's a basic. It is what it is. We'll get in here, and I'll start. We won't get in here. I made lies to you. What's going on? We'll get in here, and I'll turn the lights on. So, this is currently the lowest cost ship, or lowest entry price. It's about a little over $40. And originally it's $45, so it is kind of what most people would consider to be the entry level price of will be below a AAA game or whatever, that kind of newer, smaller development team size area in order to sell a game. And a lot of people would say that's where this game's at, which is cool. If you want to bump up a bit more, I think there's better ships. Oh, clearly there are better ships, right? But um, I do like this one a bit over the Mustang, but it's hard to quantify that when they're both just barely just getting by. So there's doors on each side here. You do have a bed. That's one thing that makes it better than the Mustang. Currently, current state of the game is you have to, if you want to log out, you have to either land like we are now, store your ship, and just log out, or you need to lay in a bed and log off that way. So once you lay down, you can potentially log off. Now I can't do that now or demonstrate that because I'm in a hangar. I need to be up and out in space. So that gives it a point over the Mustang Alpha that cannot do that. So if you wanted to have the ability to log out of the game, you would need to pick this particular ship. Additionally, there's not much else going on here. It does give you a couple guns on it. They are laser based, so these guns are going to dry up your capacitor pretty quick. So there are a couple other hard points though. So if you wanted to, you could you would have to pay. You'd pay to go ahead and get a couple other guns on here. I'd probably, maybe ballistics would be a better choice, because if you pick other things that are going to draw on that capacitor, you're going to just run out of ammo quicker and run your energy out quicker. So not really run your energy out, but they're going to run dry quicker, and it's going to add more strain to your systems. There are a couple missiles up here. They're hard to see, but you got a couple missiles. Additionally, down here is where the cargo SCUs are going to go. So there's only 3 SCUs it can carry. Again, there's no open room or reason for making that any bigger. Some ships have a cargo bay, like if this whole area was a cargo bay, then you can kind of maybe sneak in an extra SCU here or there. But this is straight up just, a few SCUs. That's assuming it's working right as well. My understanding is that at least there for a while it wasn't working, but you should be able to land somewhere and then just purchase cargo, and it should definitely show up. But as far as like linking thing, like if I had a box right now trying to put it on here, it may have an issue. So anyways, you're really just getting into the game with this particular entry point. Same with the Alpha. It's a very similar way. I mean, you could do bounty hunting probably with both of them for the entry level missions, but it could be a little painful given what you're running up against. But it should be doable for the VL, very low HRT missions. So yeah, I mean, it's a nice little entry point. Again, I like it a little more than the Mustang Alpha. Oddly enough, I did pick the Alpha, but it wasn't to buy. I instantly upgraded anyways to a different ship. So it's a good starting off point. It's also currently the lowest amount of money you can put in the game to get started. Additionally with that, if you purchase it during Invictus right now, there's a package where you actually get 10 years of insurance. It's up to you to decide how much you think the insurance stuff is worth it. As I played the game now, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It might be a big deal for really big ships that are going to be really expensive, but I don't know. I'm not really seeing it. I could see myself, if I had a ship, I would probably do my best to make sure that insurance component was covered, much like people probably do in other games as well, like Eve. But right now it's not fleshed out, so it's really irrelevant. It's hard to even for them to value it when they don't have any value currently assigned to it with gameplay. All right, let's get into the next one. Up next, we have the Mustang. This is more of a standard kind of ship that you would see, or I guess like real-life layout of an aircraft. So there's these buttons on the back. You can get this little chute to open up. I wanted to call it something else. I don't think it actually fits SCUs per se. I'm looking at the spreadsheet as I say that. I guess it technically does. I guess an SCU box does fit through here. It doesn't look like it would, but I guess it does. If you're doing delivery or something, you can just throw it back here. So, I mean, it's fine for that perspective. You would think it would be better at fighting aircraft, like it would be better at PvP, PvE than the Aurora, but that's not what I've heard, and I didn't have good success. My original thought was like take these out, do a bounty hunting mission. I did that with this, and it was painful. Like, and I actually ended up dying. So, like, I don't know. This has not been a super great ship for me. I don't like the orange display either. I don't mind it in the Argos because they're industrial ships, but for here it doesn't quite make sense for me. But anyways, it's okay ship. Again, if you're looking to just try one out for a bit, this could be fun for you to play with around with a bit. But I think the Aurora is a better option. Again, I think the Aurora has a problem with the storage piece of it, so the SUs don't quite work right now. But I wouldn't recommend this over the Aurora. With the Aurora starter pack pricing that it has, especially now with its current, it gets extra insurance and stuff too. But yeah, I don't know. This is just a look at the Mustang. It's up to you if you decide it's something you would want because you just like the look of it or something. These wings do come down when you're ready to fly it. We're not really take it out and about, but I'll definitely do a better review on it at another date, but all in all, it's not the greatest starter ship, but it is one of the lower cost options if it's something that you're interested in. Alright, now we have the Pisces. This is a decent little ship. This has a special place in my heart, given that I ended up upgrading to the C8R. But you'll notice some challenges with it, but also some good stuff with it. So yeah, let's take a quick gander. There's 2 jump seats on each side, so you can actually have like 3 people in here besides yourself, so 2 other people, I guess. You can see here there's some storage on each of the sides. These are like lockable 4 spots for SCUs. You can fit, well, I guess if you put them in the side, or you put it down the middle, SCUs here, you won't be able to get out. So it probably really is more or less 4, 2 here, and you probably can't stack them given the bend in there. So yeah, it probably really is about 4. There's your components as well, and then their wings deploy, so it's fine. The biggest challenge here, obviously, compared to some of the others that we've looked at, like especially the MR, is there's no bed in here. And the bed's important because then you can in current state, you can log out. So that's going to be a nice thing. You use that bed to lay down and log out of the game, and then you would restart that as well. So yeah, this is a look at the Pisces. Decent little ship, and still within the range of being paying a regular price for a particular game. But paying this extra amount against something like the MR, kind of hard sell. I don't know. It's hard to sell at that particular rate. If you want to get it because you plan on getting a Carrack and keeping a Carrack around, that was part of the reason I ended up getting one. Again, I went with the C8R variant, and so I upgraded it to that. That has some more pros over this, but all in all, I think getting it outright, it's a hard sell unless it's something you really want. It's a cool little shuttle, and it gets around really well. I do like its flying characteristics of a lot of the other starters, because this was more or less my starter. I flew it quite a bit, and it has that like shuttle appeal. So like if you're looking for a shuttle craft like Star Trek version where you have a bigger ship like the Enterprise, maybe like the Carrack, and then you have a little shuttle craft to go with it, this kind of fits that little mold. Now we're going to look at the cutter. So now we're kind of getting somewhere with taking a look at a ship with a little bit more potential. And these engines here are VTOLs, so you can see they're currently pointed down. You can press K and then they'll point them forward, and you can kind of make your way around the verse. Additionally, this is a newer ship than a lot of the ones, as far as I know, release date-wise, compared to the others. So you can see the lights are already on. There's actually lighting panels here. You can kind of lock the doors. You can turn the lights off, so it has a better, more of that like gold standard appeal I was talking about before. Additionally, you'll notice there's a lot of space, a lot more room for activities back here. So the only problem, the only thing that would make this better, I'll say only problem, but the only thing that would make this better, you can get 4 SUs here. You can get a stack by 2x2. Almost get another stack here. Actually, I honestly think that a third one fits here. So I think you can get 6, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I think I've gotten 6 in here. Additionally, you could put more here. The problem is there's only 1 door into this ship. Unlike the Vulture, another Drake ship, you can go through the other door. So I really wish they would put another door up front here. Like, just right here. You know, open this up, put a little ladder down. I mean, it looks like it's built for one, to be honest. So they really need to put a door here. That would make this ship just very much better than it already is. And that way you can put probably 2 high, 3 rows deep, and 2 rows wide worth of cargo back here. Obviously, yeah, make the other 2 lockable. Make it only 4 lockable. That's fine. But in this game, just because you have a lockable area doesn't mean that you can't put SUs of boxes somewhere else if they can fit. And now that you can actually turn off the grid, I would think it's even more likely you can get 6 boxes right here. So that's a pretty big. The box thing is not that big a deal. I mean, because you're not probably do a lot of cargo running. But anyways, it'd be nice to have. There is a bathroom here. There's no bathroom mechanics currently in the game, so that's fairly irrelevant. You can't even like drink out of the sinks. There's a drinking thing, but you can't really drink. There's your little bathroom there. You pop the little button there. It just looks nice, but I guess it's a problem if you don't close your doors. People like to hide in these bathrooms and then, give you a good murder if you're flying away. But yeah, so there's some of that. There is a bed in here, which also makes it a very good buy, because currently the bed is needed to log out if you're not at a station or, you haven't parked. There's inventory here. You press this and you can get to your inventory. You can also just get your inventory by eye. That may actually become more relevant here as they change the way the boxes are supposed to work. But again, I don't like to talk about future state. Current state, it's currently irrelevant. Future state, it might be relevant. So yeah, And then you have your pilot seat. You just get up in here. It moves you around and up there, and you can start flying. There's some more actually, this is a weapons thing here, but it doesn't appear to work yet. It looks like you could put a rifle there and maybe some pistols or something, but it's a little armory. And then here's some of your components. And then there's additional components out here as well. Yeah, so I think this is by far become a very popular ship for people to recommend. And if I was buying the game today, no sales or discounts. Oddly enough, this was on discount when I first started doing this evaluation, and it's no longer on discount. But so I had to change the pricing a bit. But I definitely, if I was like telling myself, hey, should you know, which ship should you buy, I would point this one out. However, with current Invictus pricing, that changes a little bit. It makes the others a little more competitive. But if I were to have a starter ship and I said, hey, if I only had one ship to play with, I think I would want to go with that one. That this really seems to be the better option. I see it as you know, decent like bounty hunting. I see it as I think when salvage gets a little better, I think being able to like get to a small salvage job and being able to pull the boxes off and put them in there if there's any boxes, I think it has a lot of potential. But again, I'm talking future state, so that's I'm trying to stay away from that too much. But my vision for it, and I think the actual capabilities might be pretty high for it. But I think it's still a really popular ship for people to recommend either way. Next up, we have the 100i. I'm just going to start off with a bit of a bias saying I don't get it. I get it from the perspective of like you know, it looks nice, but this is the first time I'm going to bring up the topic of, especially now we've moved out of the range of ships that are that are at the cost of a standard game. So at this point, we're in the medium section, or the the more advanced section, where you're looking at a game that would cost the standard price about $60 and more. So it's like buying DLC at this point. Anyways, the whole Origin line is like the Gucci line, if you will, and unless you just like a second variant, like a second cool factor, which is the first cool is just like the actual functionality of the ship. This would rely upon like you just like the dynamics of the way this ship looks. You want to pay, basically you're paying for the art form of it. If that's something you're into, that is fine. But for me, I don't get it from the perspective of I can't get there with that. I can't get there to the perspective of saying I want to pay a bit more because it has some cooler stuff. The stairs kind of come down one at a time there. It is fancier, 100%. No getting around that. Looks like they spent more time designing it. It's sleek. It looks cool, but yeah, it requires a bit extra relying upon the name of the ship internally for it to be worth the extra money. So I'm just getting the pilot seat to get the lights on and going here, but you can see here we have a bed off to the side, so that is nice. I like to get a starter ship that has a bed. I think that's a pretty big deal. You can open the door here and there's storage. Not a lot. Actually, this is components here. This is storage down here. Did they change the way? No. There used to be another door to open. Oh, there we go. Okay. It just took a minute. I think you can get a couple SCUs in here as well. I need to keep my cheat sheet up. But there's 2 SCUs here. It looks like 2 boxes can fit in there. You also do deliveries. It makes it kind of look fancy. You can throw some boxes in there and close the door. So that's kind of cool as well. The bed looks nice, but that's it. I mean, this is really pretty much it. Again, it looks nice. It's got a couple guns on it as well. So if it's the look appeal that you like, if you want to spend a couple extra bucks, if you were looking at the cutter or something, you decided you want to get this instead, spend the extra $5 into it, that's on you. And it's worth a bit more as well. It's worth the extra $5 as far as like if you wanted to upgrade later, if you decide you don't like it. I'm not saying it's worth me personally spending the extra money, but it is valued more outside the game. And inside the game it's more expensive as well. It's actually the first ship we're getting to that's over 1 million AUEC. Yeah, and then getting the boxes in here, unlike the cutter, there's no play in this. You're going to get 2 boxes in there. That's all it's going to fit. So what it says has listed is what you're going to get out of it. So that is the 100i. Up next we have the Avenger Titan. If you ever wanted to fly in a space shuttle, no, this thing reminds me of the space shuttle. This actually has 2 doors. So you have the canopy up here. So if you just wanted to get in it and fly away, so this is the first time you've had that option. You can get on the ladder here, and you can just get into the seat. We're going to start from the caboose, though. We'll get back here and start from back to front. And yeah, you pop the little door down. This is, again, not quite like the gold standard or whatnot. So it is not going to have the same capabilities as far as it's not going to have the same capabilities as far as having all the buttons and stuff ready with it. But you can see here there's some storage back here. So it's listed as having 8 SCUs. This you can, yeah, it's 2 rows of 4. So you probably actually might be able to get a little bit more in here. It's hard to tell if it's just straight 8 boxes. You might be able to get a bit more in here, but all in all, saying 8 I think is a safe bet. You do have a bed, so that's a nice to have as well. And then you got components. You do have, sorry, there's a door here. I think this is for storage. So it's a nice little ship, a little home away from home. I don't think there's a bathroom in here. I thought that there was a bathroom right here, but no, I think it's just storage. And then you got this ship, pilot seat. I don't know where the door kind of leads to. I guess the canopy just comes open. But this is the pilot seat. You hop in it and you're good to go. So a nice little ship. And I think given the current sale is pretty decent. We haven't talked a whole lot about insurance. You do get 10 years with both this or the Aurora MR if you buy the special Invictus package. So that is a nicety, as well as if you currently buy it at the discount. It's only going to cost you, as far as the game's concerned, about just under $4. So that's we'll take a look at the pricing on that. So the game itself is costing you $4 at the current discount, a little bit less than $4, and we'll take a look at that versus the value that CIG is giving you for the ship as a whole. I don't know what this, display and stuff, it just looks nice, but that's about it. It'd be cool actually if this had some jump seats. That would be sick. But yeah, it's just a room for yourself, and you could do some running in it. Yeah, there's really, you could do some fighting in it as well. Actually, I think it has quite a few more weapons. Yeah, and it's got some missiles as well. So it's decent. A lot of people used to recommend this the most. I think it's a good recommend, especially at its current price. So if it's something you're looking to spend, around $55, it's a little more than that. But if you're looking to spend about that price point on a game and you think it's worthwhile, then this could be the ship for you. Now that the cutter is actually $60, unfortunately, this is a bit better. I could see myself, I don't know, I like flying the cutter a lot. I haven't flown this a whole lot. I've flown it a little bit, but I haven't flown this so much to say I like it over the cutter, for example. I like the cutter quite a bit. There's maybe a little bit of bias too, because I like the design choice of it. But yeah, that's about it for the Avenger. I have the Syulen. This is like alien space tech, so yeah, pretty unique from that perspective. And I do like it. I almost considered buying this. I think it was on sale. I think I just missed the sale back in November. I think it was new back in November. It was released, I think, during the Fleet Week. And I could test fly it. I was too new to the game. I couldn't figure out that it was, a different manufacturer that I could have rented. Actually, I think I did end up renting it. I just couldn't convince myself. I watched tons of reviews. Most people were like, buy it, buy it, buy it. I just couldn't quite convince myself with it. And I did test fly it, and I had some challenges with it. And you can see this challenge right here. You see it's facing up. It vertically takes off like a helicopter. Well, why can't I go at the top? You can't. So for a new person, and this is the problem I kind of ran into when I first got started, is you need to fly it over, then out. Or you need to turn it and fly out, but you can't really do that. See these arms? They extend even further. It gets even wider, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I've taken it for a flight, but I think at a minimum, if you try to turn this thing, you can see that's a close hangar bay. The tops of this barely comes open, so it's fitting the box out of what becomes more of a sphere or a circle. This isn't obviously a circle, but it has quite a radius on it, so or circumference on it. At any rate, that's here nor there. There's some SCU box storage out here, so you can get 6 on there. I think that's a hard and fast. You're not going to get any less, or you can get less, but you can't get any more out of it. There's no room for playing around with getting a bit more out of it. There is a cool door, and they all have these, unfortunately, the buttons in like your native language if you need to like right click, I think, on it. And it's got this kind of magnetic elevated type of gravity kind of thing going on with it, so it's a cool appeal to it, but the buttons aren't really written out. They're in the alien language or whatnot. There is some storage in this first floor, as well as like weapon storage. Here's your components. Maybe it's not storage. Maybe it's just weapon components here. You know, I ended up I haven't been in this thing in a while. I ended up upgrading to this to show the upgrade piece, and it's I haven't been in it for quite a while. Here's kind of for weapons. You got, you know, pistols or utilities. So you got about 4 slots there, and you got 2 gun racks here for like rifles. You've got, I think this might actually be the storage, or there's more components. We're about to find out. Drum roll, please. All right, more components. You got an elevator here. You got the 3 different floors. We're gonna go to the middle now. And at the very top is just gonna be the pilot seat. You know, you have there's a bathroom here as well as a bed. So there's a number. So here's your bed. You can lay down here or sit, apparently. So I guess if you wanted someone to come with you, you could technically have them sit here. When you don't have a spot for someone to sit, you're just going to fall down, potentially even fall out of the ship. That's more of a bug than it is a feature. Although it's been going on long enough, it's considered a feature. So you have your little bathroom here. You can, you know, take a nice shower. Again, bathroom is not currently a real thing yet, so I wouldn't consider it something you have to worry about. And there's the toilet. Yes. So yeah, and there's a little sink, whatnot. One of these is a storage. Is this what opened up? Is this another seat? Like finding things out about my ship. Like I said, I literally own this thing. I just haven't been in it very much. But I didn't have access to it. Not only for this review, but I just didn't have access to it in general if I didn't purchase it. And I don't know. I think it's okay. I'll probably continue to upgrade my starter ship to something ultimately different. But this is a decent ship. I'm not going to give it necessarily any kind of recommend. It's pretty expensive. Unless it's on sale and it's something you just really want due to the appeal of it, it's just not quite there. It does have quite a lot of a lot of weapons on it, so it can do pretty good at fighting. I'm going to show these orbs. You see these orbs on the left and the right here? You kind of have these weird ball things going on when you're flying it. So, yeah, I mean, it's got a cool appeal to it. It's interesting architecturally. It has a lot of gas in it, and if you put an engine, you can either put a really thirsty engine in there and kind of make up for it that way, or you can go about putting a really fuel efficient engine in there and get quite a distance with. You see, now I'm holding these lovely balls, so it's a interesting way to fly, but it is what it is, and it's an interesting ship. I look forward to actually using a little bit more later today when I'm not. I'll probably do some bounty hunting in it. Yeah, unless it's more of a, not only just the first kind of cool, which is just the basis again of it meeting your everyday needs. If you kind of like a second kind of cool and you really have to have it and you like the appeal of it, that's fine. There's probably enough with that in order to keep it, but I like to do things that require to have SCUs of boxes with like industrial type gameplay, and so the inability to put more SCUs of stuff on here is kind of a no-go. As we go into Pyro, but again, I like trying to stay a little bit away from Future State. We're talking a little bit theoretical here, and I can't even get this to open. I don't know if this is lag or what's going on here, but yeah, now I'm stuck in the ship. Love it. All right, let's see. I don't know. I hopped over that. Oh, it went down, I think. It's just a little bit lag. Yeah, so unless it's just something you really have to have from the perspective of that, but Pyro is coming up, so Pyro is a bigger system, so you might need the extra gas to get places. Again, looks cool. I still have that thing where I'm glad I personally didn't pledge to it initially. I think it would have been a rough starter ship for me personally, but I think it's something you would get used to pretty quickly. I have found in this game, if you're stuck with the ship, or if you have a ship and you use it enough, even if a gameplay loop is more lucrative or something like that, you do end up liking it generally, more or less. Of course, it could be a terrible ship, and I guess you could learn to hate it. So, yeah, it's an interesting starter ship, and unless you just look at it and go, man, I have to have that, it may not necessarily be for you. The Anvil Arrow. So this is our first like combat aircraft. I'm using quote unquote pretty heavily here. Not heavily like it's a bad thing or anything. I've never really heard really good things. Again, I don't do a whole lot. I don't do really any PvP. I like to do bounty hunting, but I don't typically do it in smaller ships. I did the kind of salvaging gameplay enough to make enough money to not really have to use smaller ships like this. This is a single-seater craft, so you could, that turret up there is for you to use as well. There's missiles, but it is a light fighter, so it's going to be nimble and fun to fly, but from the perspective of like taking a hit, it's not going to take too many hits. So looking at that, these wings obviously come down when you're taking off, the gear goes up. You just got a cockpit, but there's no SCUs of storage. Like, it is strictly for, you like the look of it and you want to do bounty hunting in it. I haven't heard a lot of good stuff. I mean, I don't have any good reviews to give you to indicate that it's going to be something that is going to be well worth your money at the price point it's being sold at. But um, yeah, I don't know. I can't see myself picking this up. And even if I wanted to do bounty hunting, I would probably start with something different and then work my way to making enough money to buy this in game. It is almost 2 million in game, so it's expensive. But there's other craft that aren't that expensive. So just looking at it from a starter perspective, unless it's something you must have and you really like, go for it. But it's hard to pull the trigger on this when there's other options out there. And there was the Nomad. Hard to get there with this price. To be completely honest, it's a cool ship and I like it. I've taken it out a few times just because, you know, I was trying to understand, is it worthwhile from the perspective of owning it? That was kind of my initial. I was originally looking, when I started evaluating the ships, which one I would evaluate as, like, man, what's the gun at the go-to and the best spot to kind of go with, and I just don't see it. So you have to get out. You have to get into the ship, I think, here to even get the cargo bank to kind of lower. So you can see I had to go through here. I want to show the back end here. Although I think a rock fits down here. I think a rock fits in there, which is a mining kind of ground vehicle. So that's kind of cool from that perspective. So you can get some stuff in here. You can get this is the first time you've got a fair amount of SUs back here. But it's kind of odd because, like, there's no way to close this down. So it's kind of reminds me of like the Cybertruck. So without the way to close in on it, it just makes me feel uncomfortable, right? So you can supposedly get 24 SCUs back here, which is probably right. I don't know. It doesn't quite close up or anything. It's an odd thing. I think there's actually a tractor beam, possibly. Again, I don't know. I don't spend. This is not meant to overly be a review. I would do more flying and reviewing of the ship at a later date if you all find that worthwhile. We would definitely do that. All right, I talk to myself like multiple people or something. At any rate, yeah, so I would definitely do that if you're all interested in that. That was kind of a look around here. Going back into the inside, there is a fair amount to be used. Oh, Tesla knows. I got a text from Tesla. I don't own a Tesla or anything. I just got, like, a marketing text because I said Cybertruck. You know, my phone is totally listening to me on the flat Earth. Yeah, so here is storage, but again, that's fairly irrelevant in the current patch. These are components back this way. Yeah, some components. Is there a little bed in here? I think this has a bed, right? Oh, this is the bathroom. Oh, yeah, here's the bed. So you got your nice little bed here. Little kitchen, little kitchenette. Oh, nice. I got my C4 going on here. Oh, no, so this is C4. This is my, this is maybe my protein. It's hard to super pro for super protein. She'll just straight, you know, eat that powder or something from my food stuff, but that it doesn't allow that. Storage. Oh, the little seat. That's kind of cool. Little table. Nice little feel to it. Doesn't really do anything. I don't think someone necessarily could sit there. Technically, you'd have someone sit, I think, probably on your bed, or at least lay down. Yeah, you can sit here. So you can have someone sit on the bed and then sit here, maybe. So maybe you got a couple jump seats. Very rudimentary jump seats. Door access, yes, please open. And then here's a pilot seat. You just get up and make your way off. Again, cool little ship. Hard sell at the price. I can't quite get there. You know, in-game price, when I compare it, yeah, its valuation doesn't look good. And we'll take a look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Its price is too high. Or it's not being sold enough, or too expensive, and that's not being expensive enough in game. I don't think that's the case. I think the price is too high out of the game. So, yeah, we'll take a look at that when we take a look at the numbers. All right, the Cutlass Black. A lot of people like this ship. I agree. I mean, I generally like the premise of the ship. I don't think I have it like listed as something I would want to keep in my fleet. Maybe the Cutty Red. So there's the number of variants of these, and I think that's the thing. Like, this is so overplayed. I think it's given it more of a, I don't want to say negative connotation, but or even negative image. But I was thinking this had lights switches on it, but it's missing that. There's a number of jump seats on here. You can rent this ship, so I think it's a good like rental opportunity. Get quite a few SCUs, even almost basically double of what the last ship, the Nomad. So you can get quite a bit of room in here. Tons of room for activities. Bring all your friends. Got these doors here on the sides as well. This one doesn't have the guns on it. You know, some of the variants have other things, like there's a door gun on the steel. A lot of bad guys kind of use this ship as well, so you can kind of steal it from that perspective. Obviously, when you steal a ship, it doesn't quite have the same functionality, but a lot of opportunity to kind of play this ship out. Turret up top. This, you know, you start here and then you work your way up to the top once you get in there. A double bunk bed, double bunk. Do a lot of damage with that. There's tons of room of activities and a double bunk bed. You know, that's how shenanigans really get afoot. A lot more components, again, gun storage, and then you got a pilot. So it's actually 2 seats. There's a co-pilot and a pilot as well. So you just hop in the pilot seat, it moves you up a bit, much like the cutter, but a little bit more up because this is the bigger ship. A fun ship, again, at the price, it's any of these that like you get over the $100 mark, real hard sell. Real hard sell. Additionally, the numbers don't quite look good as far as how much you're paying in game, or what you could pay in game versus what you could pay out of the game. I don't quite see it. I don't think raising the price in game makes any sense. They just reevaluated those prices, so I think this is going to be one of those ships that's just not worth buying out of the game for me, right? And I can't quite get there. I think it's fun to own. I think if you want to own it, I think that's great. But you want to rent it even. I think it's a fun to rent game too. So you can get a rock in here, definitely. So you just drive it right in here. So if you wanted to go mining for a bit, you could buy the rock. The rock actually went down in price, so I think it's more accessible for new players. You can do, I have a guide on making money. Again, it's not based around whatever ship you want it. You can use whatever ship you want. You can make, do that mission quite a few times. Go buy a rock outright. And then, I think you can rent one too, but go buy one outright, and then you can rent this ship. And then you should then make enough money in the game to both buy this ship and make sure you buy the rock. You could rent both of them using my mission kind of guide for easy money, and then go do that mission set and kind of make some money mining. And then if you like mining enough, you can do Prospector, or you can use this, you rent it, you can do some bounty hunting. I think bounty hunting is, you're not going to quite make enough money within the first couple of days. You know, with those rentals, if you can't make that money back from it, I'm not saying you should do it in a day. I'm saying if you're renting it for, well, I am saying though, if you're renting it for a day, you should be able to make that money back. Honestly, otherwise you can tell that ship's not worth its weight at all. So I think the Cutlass Black does fit in that particular wheelhouse. I think if you rent this ship, you rent it, you go use it, you should be able to make that money back that you rented it. So just keep doing that, keep renting it. So that's where it goes into, well, should you buy this ship? Probably not, unless you rented it every time you're like, okay, I can't live without this ship. Then do it. But more than likely, I think you start with a lower cost ship, you rent this one, you try it out. Again, you see if you can make that money back in the same day. You have 24 hours. You can even, you know, crash and all that stuff and just recall it. It's just yours for 24 hours. Give it a try. If you can't make that money back, I think that's a good indication it's probably not the ship for you. If you do make that money back, it's something you can buy in the game. Alright, we have the Freelancer, Misk Freelancer. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting ship. I haven't used it a whole lot. I know a lot of people like it. I think the price obviously is real big. This is quite a commitment. If it's something you have to have, again, giving a look at it, I don't know why that would be the case, but if it is something you have to have, then go for it. Otherwise, let's take a look around and try to determine why it's so expensive. I'm sounding kind of negative on all that, but it is expensive for this. Okay, so you got a number of seats up here, which is cool. I actually didn't really notice that before. I don't think I've flown this too many times. And if I have, I've taken one of the other variants out. A number of beds in here as well. But you can see it's definitely not as open. We'll get back here, but definitely not as open as the like the Cutlass Black. And you can rent this though. So if you wanted to give it a go, you can do that. There's more storage and components. You can still access the ship inventory. So things like that. This is the restroom. Yeah, got your little restroom in here. The Misk is meant to be like a fairly industrial-ish type of ship. So this is kind of interesting. This, I think, technically our first docking port. Even the MR has, I think those are meant to be docking ports as well on either side of the ship. So I wouldn't be surprised if that thing can dock. Actually, I think the Cutlass Black has one as well. Actually, I'm trying to envision that. Does it have one up top? I don't recall. But docking is not a big thing right now currently. You've got a spot in the back, but like I said, it's not as open. It's fairly claustrophobic compared to, I think it's the best word for it, claustrophobic compared to the Cutlass Black. So I don't even know if a rock can fit in here. Rock has that laser on the side, so I don't think it fits. So yeah, I mean, this would kind of be your first, ride into the whole a little bit of delivery. You can do some delivery with it, but man, this is a really steep entry price for delivery. I would be looking for I would be interested in buying a cheaper ship, like the entry level package or something, and then using that upgrade money. If I happily have to do cargo hauling and I don't want to work my way up towards it for whatever reason, that's something I would look at instead of just straight buying this particular ship. Does that let me on the other side? A lot of these ships have, yeah, here we go. I know they're just components. Are these seats? Nope, just components. Yeah. I thought that some of these missed ships, like the whole A and stuff, have little areas where you can kind of get through to the other side. Just some storage here, and again, a fairly, what to me feels like a claustrophobic and not as much space as I would like. I mean, look how much space is between it and the engines here. Like, widen that bad boy. Give it a bigger caboose. Eat a sandwich. Let's move on to the next one. But yeah, I think it's fine. I just can't, for the price of it, I can't say that that's anything that somebody should jump over hoots and ladders for in order to get to it. I'm actually misconstruing the price a little bit. I was looking at the next ship's price. So it's 125. I don't know. It's not terrible, actually. It's a little bit less terrible than I thought it was initially. The valuation on it is fairly decent. So it's not the worst on this list. And so if you really want to get into cargo hauling, if you wanted to spend 125 for the game, if you could, get to that price, that's fine. But again, I feel like, renting the Cutlass Black or maybe even renting this and using it that way is potentially a better use of your, I mean, obviously any of that stuff, any grind you can do in the game and spend time doing, it's going to be worth your time to save your money if you enjoy it. So yeah, definitely something you can grind out. I'm not saying you should buy it at all, but I'm saying, maybe. It's more of a maybe, again, than I would even give the Cutlass Black. They are the same price as far as the package is concerned. And this has 20 extra SCUs of storage. Again, you can't get the rock in it, though. So it's, like, if I had to choose between these two, maybe the Cutlass Black wins. But again, we're paying already quite a bit. I don't want to give recommendations to ships that are above really the entry-level price point. The only exception to that being the Avenger Titan that's currently on sale, so it's kind of got a bit of a recommend just given that particular current sale. Then Sea Hornet. This is currently a popular ship given that there's a mission set around it to allow you to upgrade it to a better Hornet, essentially. So a fighter aircraft, and compared to the Arrow, I think a better one if I'm not mistaken, but again, I'm not giving super big advice on PvP or PvE or just ship-to-ship combat. More expensive than the Arrow, that's for sure. Is it worth that dollar amount? I don't know. The numbers kind of line up with that, to be honest, versus what they're selling it in game. But looking at the in-game prices, what you're paying for here, not maybe worth. It's still within the viable range. It's almost 3 million, so it's quite a bit of AUEC. You'd have to save up quite a bit. But yeah, the only interesting part about this ship is that it currently, looking at the ship value that CIG lets you have versus the game package price, they appear to match. So this is a one instance where the game potentially is free versus the ship value that they're actually providing you. So that's an interesting tidbit. If that's something you're interested in, then that's an interesting number, and we'll take a look at the sheet on that. But yeah, it's just something that stands out. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot else that stands out. I mean, it's a combat aircraft, so that's what you're going to be stuck with doing, is you're going to do combat only. Bounty hunting in Star Citizen is kind of what that looks like, as well as just, there's two kinds of bounty hunting. There's the bounty hunting against PvE, which is probably the one you would like the most. It's easiest, I should say. Or easier, and then there's PvP, which actually arguably some people might say PvP is easier, because if you get the jump on somebody with master modes, it might be better for you. It depends on the skill of the people, right? PvP is going to have a wider breadth to it because there's going to be a large difference in skill sets. But if people are criminals and they have a crime stat, then you could potentially hunt them for bounty hunting missions. Bounty hunting generally, though, is done for PvE content, which is just a bad guy is spawned and you can go, you would ideally collect them up and put them in prison, but in this game you just kill them, murder them mercilessly. Yeah, that's about it for this. That's pretty much what this would be doing exclusively. There's no SCUs, there's no storage on it, so I don't even know if you can't even do mail deliveries on this. Maybe a little bit. There is usually there's just access to the ship's storage up here. So if I hold F down there, right click, get closer. Oh, maybe it's just get in. That's unfortunate. Usually there's an interactive wheel to allow me to, there we go. So loot, open storage. So this is pretty much it. You can open the storage here and you can access your ship storage, but there's not going to be really any SCUs of anything, or I don't think you can do package delivery. Might be able to put it in the inventory with a package, but yeah, a lot of people like to do mail delivery. That's not really working very well right now anyways, as it is. But yeah, all in all, PvP ship. Alright, we have the Connie, now we have the Cuddy. This is a cool ship. Not gonna lie, this is another ship. It and the Carrack are the two, like I was in the showroom and I was like, man, I want to fly these things. I want to take these things out for a spin. So from that perspective, they hold a bit of a special place in my heart, given that I did spend some time with them when I first started the game, and they were my first kind of wow factor. And they do have somewhat of a wow factor. Again, if you're into the idea of getting to a space game where you can actually get in a ship, move around, see the components. I mean, Star Citizen has a pretty good, as far as I understand, a pretty good, I said luxury, but the only part of the market for that. We're going to get in here and turn the ship on so I can turn the lights on. We can take a good look at it, but it's got a couple chairs up front, right? So you got a little multi-crew cruel. It is cruel. It's cruel that you can't do it more often, but multi-crew capability. I noticed when I play the game, if I play with more people, I generally have more problems with the game, unfortunately, as far as bugs. But at the same time, it's way more fun. So, but you have to consider the fact that the servers only hold about 100 people, and so when you compare that, you're looking at 5 people, part of your crew, including yourself. That's 5% of the server. So if you had 20 people, it's 20% of the servers. You can have almost a quarter of the server if you decide you're going to do like a dropship mission or something, and you have like 20 people. Yeah, 25 obviously would be an actual quarter. Got a couple turrets here, so the crew can kind of sit with you initially to your jump point, and then they can hop into the turrets here and get to work. You got some storage around here. And you move your way back, there's the airlock that I actually came in on, and there's a bathroom here. I have spent a fair amount of flying this thing. It does fly a little weird. She's a brick house. She's macho mighty, but she lets it all hang out, and it hangs all over the place, and it's hard to fly around. So, not gonna lie, from that perspective, it's a little bit rough. The table here doesn't currently work. I feel like it works in some. Either that or different patches. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. So you could technically sit around here. Can I right scully? Sometimes my right scully wheels. No, I don't see any option down here in the right corner to get the table to come up. So I think currently it's not working per usual. A number of bunk beds here. So no captain specific quarters, but just bunk beds. So back here is the storage. So this is it lists 96 SCUs of storage. That's supposedly what will fit here. I think you can get SCUs to actually fit along here as well. So you could probably get more in here. Alternatively, though, that same story would fill out for one of the other components of this. There's a number of these Connies, and one of them is the Taurus. And I would say that is the better ship. And you'll find a lot of people that say that. I do honestly think that's the case. So you can see here, there's a number of, we have 2 airlocks because there's one on each side. You have a lot of missiles here, so that's something that's better, I think, compared to the Taurus. So the different variants have different kind of components and things with them, but this part is bigger on the Taurus. I think it's longer. I think it goes like all the way back, and you lose some of this back here. Oh well, okay, so this is still back here when you get back here. So this is components, right? So we've got a number of components in here, but in the very back you have a snub nose fighter, which is kind of cool. So you actually kind of get 2 ships out of it. But this ship is not as capable as the Connie. It's just, like I said, it's a snub nose, so you can't even quantum jump with it, and you're not meant to go very far with it. But it's kind of a cool little deal. But at the price point, again, I just can't see it paying that much out of the game for it. But if that's something you want to do, go for it. But I do think this is a cool ship, and I have the Taurus listed, its brother, the less expensive brother, I might add, on my list of ships that I would actually want to keep, and it doesn't include the snub nose fighter. So the snub nose fighter for me is not enough of a component to justify getting this ship. I think it would be cooler to have a more expensive ship like a Carrack and having a real fighter in there. To me, that's much more appealing than having just a very specific snub nose proprietary ship that you can put in here. Yeah, that's pretty much the Cuddy. I badmouthed it a bit, but again, I like it quite a bit. I have one of them listed as something that I would want to keep, and it has a special allure to my heart, given that I got to fly it around for free, and I just thought it was a really cool ship. But even piloting, you see these big bars here, they kind of get in your way when you're trying to fly it around. It needs a bit of a rework through the window. I mean, there's really reasons to have those bars even to begin with. I'd like to see them remove. Oh my gosh, I'm holding F, so it thinks I'm trying to sit down. I would want to use F to remove F. Oh my gosh, I would want them to remove these big bars here. There's no reason to even have them. There's, you know, the supports here, sure, that's one thing, but having the big supports here in the middle, I think, is unnecessary. I think the Aquila deals with that and cuts it out. But yeah, you shouldn't have to buy a variant in order to have a usable. I'm not saying it's a usable. It's just something kind of get used to, and as you fly around, you probably would forget it's even there. But there'd be enough times you probably would notice it. That would be a bit frustrating. So yeah, that is the Connie. A cool ship. I like it. Again, I like buying it, and I like flying it around occasionally. It's not a ship that just collects dust in my fleet manager. It is something that I eventually take out, and it's fun for bounty hunting, and it's listed pretty highly and regarded pretty well on that front. But yeah, the price point's very high. Alright, so this is the Carrack. I think it's a really good ship. It's the biggest ship I ended up renting for in November during the Fleet Week, and I just liked it. I fell in love with it. It's got a lot to go with it. It's interesting because these ships in some ways are like maps and other like zones. Like again, I refer to World of Warcraft quite a bit because that's where I spent most of my time, but much like a different zone and ships and things of that nature, this is a really big ship. So you can see here, you enter at the front of the ship. Up there is the the captain's area. I'm not going to go through the whole ship. It will take too much time. And there are other videos and do that, or I could do a review on it if y'all are interested in that. Let me know. I can do a walkthrough for it. But in the interest of this video, I want to just kind of get through it as quickly as possible. I want to touch on a few points here. But again, I like the ship a lot, and it's listed as a ship that I want to keep in my fleet. What that means is that I'm going to make sure I make enough money in the game to purchase it and add it to my available ships that I can use. So we're starting here in the cargo area. You can see the cargo area is nice and big. I mean, and it's got many sections. And this is meant, I don't want to talk about future state. I prefer not to do that in my videos. I don't think it's necessary to discuss future state because that's a shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like not even, that's actually past tense, but it's such a foresight into it's impossible to say if it'll actually come out or not. So I like to talk about the here and now and how much you can actually, what you can do with the ship. And we could talk about the future state, but you can see up here on the top left is the map, and there's 6 bays, and so those are your cargo bays, and they have these little doors in between them. However, you'll notice the first problem is there's no doors to actually interact with. Like you can only get between these cargo pods, but you can't actually do anything. Like you can't open these doors or anything, so you're just down hard. Like it's you can't get in here. So the only capability you have of putting cargo, and maybe they'll fix this like very soon. They need to. These doors need to open and be accessible. And maybe I'm missing something, but as far as I know, you can't actually open up this cargo bay to make it accessible outside from the outside. It'd be cool. Actually, this would be a really cool ship compared to some of the others, because if each one of these bay areas could open, then you could load up. But again, we're talking, that's future state. And right now, none of these bays, as far as I know, open. And so they look cool. It seems functionally cool, but as far as actually utilizing them, there's no way to actually get these to do anything. Like there's no way to actually use these bays. So if you were thinking you're going to cargo haul with these, you can load up on a planet and you can download on the planet as well. So like you could do cargo running in this, but as far as like going out on the verse and like loading up cargo you find is not really possible, because the only cargo that's going to fit is ones that fit into this door. So and then even then, if you're fitting into the door, you have to then compete with this whole like walkway. So like you would have to load it manually, from the front. We're in the back. Yeah, I'm making my way towards the back here, but you would have to push the boxes through here. So like, it's just not feasible. So unfortunately, from that perspective, it's pretty terrible. The ship hangar is relatively small. It's really set up for like the C8s. I got it. I like it because I had the C8R for the longest time as my starter ship, and so something like that, it does fit in there. You can respawn from it, from that med bay. I did show in the intro. The med bay is pretty cool. It's fun for that gameplay. You can have a group go out with it, but just buy it in game. I don't know. For me, unless you just have loads of money and you want to spend it on this, then go for it. But I don't know why you're watching a video comparing then, because at this you just buy all the ships. So most people I think are interested in discussion on it. I had considered at some point, but it's just not worth it, unfortunately. It's a cool ship. It's fun to take out. I do take it out occasionally. It's not like it's a ship I never touch, but unfortunately for the price they're asking for it, I just don't see the value. I'm just not there with it, and I just can't get there with it. All right, I did want to show this in case they let you rent this. I think it's a ship worth renting and taking a look at. It's pretty cool. So if there's an anvil day and you get a chance to grab this ship, I think it's worthwhile taking a look at and taking it out for a fly. So right through here, you can get through the cargo bay. And the first elevator on the left is one that you would probably want to take because, again, we're right below the kind of the pilot area or the bridge. That's the word I'm looking for. So right here, you're going to take a right, and then this is a bridge on here, and all the doors are generally well marked, which is cool. And this actually has kind of two bridges. There's a sub bridge for like the pilot and stuff like that, and you definitely could fly from the sea here. So and that's the one I would more or less recommend. I've had some power issues with it, but then there's an elevator here as well, right off to the left once you go through this door, and there's an upper bridge. And that would actually be where like the captain sits, along with maybe some of the officer crew or something. I don't know. You would spread the crew out amongst the other, but it has this kind of like, best way to describe this would be a command, station similar to the one on Prometheus, which is pretty cool. But you can power it up here, and you can also fly it from up here as well. So either one is an option. And this one just has kind of a cooler vibe to it. It has less panels though, so like you can't see the status of the ship as much. At any rate, yeah, I just wanted to show it in case you have a chance to fly it, and I think this is a pretty cool area and a neat ship to pilot and take out in the verse. But again, I would recommend more along the lines of purchasing it in-game, more so than purchasing it as a standalone ship, unless it's just something you have to have. And that'll be something we'll talk about too. I think there's an interesting concept of, it has a second cool factor to it, or, something that's just, it's just something you want and you have, and you decide you want to spend your money on it. So yeah. To our corp, I'm actually in the Syulen. I've actually enjoyed this quite a bit. So I didn't say I had dogged on it in the review, but it is at $85 is quite a bit for a package. But this is a very unique ship, and it is fun, and look how pretty that is. That's pretty dang pretty. So I can definitely see the hype behind it. I fly it better now that you use control and space to kind of go forward and backwards to kind of get out of the hangar. It wasn't too bad. I think they changed some of the way the angles work on your camera. It adjusts it to like a vertical view versus a horizontal view, so it's a little more friendly to that. But just kind of want to show that in the outro and show this view. But I wanted to thank y'all for watching this. Hopefully, if you want to watch the whole thing, I appreciate taking the time to watch all that. But hope you got to skip around to the different segments that you were looking for. And maybe for the Syulen here, if you're really interested into it, it might be a good opportunity to upgrade from the lower cost Titan to this. Pay that extra $10 or whatever the difference is. I think it's $10. But it's not necessary. That Titan is probably still perfectly fine for 10 years insurance. But at any rate, $85 is a hard sell for this. But dang, it's a cool ship. I definitely, if I give each of these a flight and I do a review with them, there'll probably be some enhanced, better, evaluation of them that I should be doing at some point. But I just wanted to kind of give a flavor text and really a rough estimate on the ships and look at the calculations and stuff as much as possible. Try to give you the best kind of no frills, honest opinion on how they look and paying for the game versus kind of getting sucked into the allure of it and getting more into, because as soon as you start flying the ship and stuff, you could get sucked into and you start building a bias on it. So I'm trying to make it as straightforward as possible. Thanks for checking it out. I'll catch you guys next time.